ever get drawn to those historical figures where, separating facts from the stories is a real challenge?
Oh, absolutely.
Today we're diving deep into one of those from feudal Japan, no less, Hattori Hanzo, a name that seems to pop up everywhere, both in samurai chronicles and those more shadowy ninja tales.
Yeah, he's one of those figures who, well, he just captures the imagination, doesn't he?
Definitely. And what's really interesting about Hanzo is it's not just the swordsmanship. The sources paint this picture of him as a brilliant strategist, fiercely loyal, with a level of skill that just seems almost superhuman at times.
Yeah, larger than life, for sure.
So in this deep dive, we're aiming to get to the heart of it. What were the most significant parts of his life? What kind of legacy did he leave behind?
A lot to uncover.
Absolutely. And we've got some really good material to work with here. A mix of historical accounts and those, well, those more legendary stories that really make history come alive. It's going to be fascinating to see what we can glean about the real person behind, this almost mythical figure.
It really is intriguing.
So where do we even begin with Hattori Hanzo?
Well, I think a good place for you to start is with his early life, Iga Prefecture.
Okay.
This region, it had this long and deep connection to the shinobi, what we in the modern world mostly know as ninjas.
Right.
And for Hanzo, this wasn't just some later life career choice. His training began incredibly early.
Not just like joining the ninja club after school.
Oh, not at all. No, no, no. His father, Hattori Yasunaga, was, he was a respected samurai himself, skilled in ninja arts.
Okay.
And he took Hanzo's training very, very seriously.
Mhm.
I mean, from the age of 8 or so, we're talking about a focused, intense education in all things martial arts.
Wow.
Swordsmanship, becoming proficient with the spear, a huge weapon on the battlefields of that era.
Right.
And even the kunai, that almost multi-purpose knife-like tool that, you often see associated with ninjas.
Yeah. So it sounds like the focus really was initially on the core combat skills.
It was.
But I know being a ninja involved a lot more than just being good in a straight up fight,
Yeah.
right? There was a whole stealth aspect to it.
Right, and that's a really key point. I mean, his training extended way beyond just knowing how to use weapons. He was immersed in the art of infiltration,
Okay.
getting in and out of places undetected,
Right.
disguise, henjutsu, as it was called.
Yeah.
And think about this. In a world without, reliable IDs, driver's licenses and such, the ability to basically become someone else.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate tool, right? I mean, you could access information, places you'd never get near otherwise.
Makes sense.
And of course, sabotage, the quick disruptive tactics of guerrilla warfare, those were all, part of his training from early on. Imagine learning that kind of stuff as a kid.
Yeah, it's like spy training, but centuries ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm guessing it wasn't just physical skills, right? There's got to be a mental component too.
Huge mental component. Survival was absolutely crucial. He learned about herbs, not just for patching up wounds, but, well, let's face it, creating poisons too.
Right. So it has this whole other layer of, well, I guess danger to his skill set, right?
Absolutely. And maybe even more fascinating, he was trained to be so in tune with his surroundings.
Okay.
I mean, using the wind to mask sounds,
Right.
shadows for concealment, even understanding those subtle shifts in the natural world and using those to his advantage.
So it's like he could almost blend in, become a part of the landscape when he needed to.
Exactly. It's all part of what made him so effective and ultimately so legendary.
Yeah, and that's really impressive.
Yeah.
But being a successful operative
Yeah.
in that kind of world, it takes more than just physical ability, right? You got to be sharp mentally too.
You do. Sources really emphasize that intense mental discipline that was instilled in him.
Okay.
Learning to read your opponents, not just their movements, but almost sensing their intentions. Being able to make super fast decisions when you're under pressure. And crucially, being able to control your own ambitions.
Right.
Those were all key parts of his training. And consider this, he was skilled at impersonation. He could convincingly become a monk,
Oh, wow.
a villager,
Right.
even a traveling merchant.
Like a mental shape-shifting almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that level of mental agility, it's as impressive as his physical skills, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So we've got this incredibly well-trained individual,
Mm-hmm.
right, honed from childhood in all these, diverse and frankly kind of deadly arts.
Right.
So how does he go from that to becoming this pivotal figure that we know him as.
Well, that's where his alliance with Tokugawa Ieyasu comes in.
Right.
I mean, that's the next big step in his story.
Okay.
Initially, Hanzo served Tokugawa mainly as a ninja operative, right? Putting all those specialized skills we talked about, espionage, sabotage to work.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is how his battlefield leadership starts to emerge.
Right.
You know, it wasn't just about covert ops. He had a knack for strategy on a larger scale.
And that brings us to the Battle of Mikitagahara in 1572,
Right.
where, frankly, the odds were stacked against Tokugawa's forces.
Massively. Takeda Shinge's forces were, well, they were a formidable opponent.
Right.
But even facing, a much larger enemy, Hanzo, he used his ninja unit in this really smart way. You see in the sources how he utilized guerrilla tactics.
Okay.
Quick strikes.
Yeah.
Ambushes. Misdirection. It wasn't about, like, a head-to-head clash.
Right.
It was about disruption, harassing the enemy.
Yeah.
And this allowed Tokugawa to make a strategic retreat, which, well, it probably saved them from total disaster.
Wow.
It's a great example of his ability to, think outside the box, go beyond the traditional battle strategies, and lead effectively under extreme pressure.
So even in what, looked like a defeat, his actions were crucial.
They were vital.
And then, years later, after the assassination of Oda Nobunaga, Hanzo plays another key role in making sure Tokugawa is safe.
He does.
This one sounds almost like an action movie.
It does, doesn't it? So, 1582, Nobunaga is assassinated. Tokugawa is he's in a very precarious position, deep in enemy territory.
Yeah.
And Hanzo steps up, big time. He personally leads Tokugawa through these hidden ninja paths, this secret network, essentially, across dangerous lands to escape pursuing forces.
Wow.
And, get this, sources mention he had, over 300 ninja under his command for this operation, setting traps, coordinating ambushes, a whole clandestine operation just to get Tokugawa to safety.
I mean, that's a whole other level, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about his own skills. He's coordinating like a whole network of operatives.
It's about leadership, strategy on a massive scale.
And it's no wonder his reputation starts to get this almost mythical quality.
Right.
And that brings us to the whole Oni Hanzo,
Yeah.
Demon Hanzo legend.
Right. And what gets really fascinating here is how, his battlefield successes, his, almost impossible feats of stealth, they start to get, woven into folklore.
Yeah.
This nickname, Oni Hanzo, it wasn't given lightly. I mean, stories started circulating about his ability to sense enemies before they were even visible, about vanishing like a ghost.
Yeah.
It's where his actual skills and the supernatural aura, they kind of merge, right?
Yeah.
The reality of the training, the tactical genius, it's all intertwined with this myth of a demon warrior.
It's like the stories themselves become a weapon.
Almost.
I mean, that psychological impact, that can be just as powerful as any sword, right?
It can. Fear, uncertainty, they're huge factors in warfare.
Right.
I mean, if your enemy believes you have, superhuman abilities, it messes with their heads.
For sure.
It affects their decisions. And Hanzo's legend, it just keeps growing as he plays these critical roles in major events. Most notably, the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600.
Sekigahara, the battle that basically unified Japan under Tokugawa.
Right.
What was Hanzo's role in something that massive?
It wasn't just about him leading troops into battle, although he did that very effectively. Sources show a multifaceted strategic contribution. His ninja operatives, they were essential in sabotaging enemy outposts, disrupting communication lines. I mean, imagine the chaos of vital messages not getting through, key supplies being destroyed.
Could be huge.
Espionage, too. Providing Tokugawa with critical intel on enemy movements, strengths, weaknesses.
Wow.
And on the battlefield, Hanzo led elite units to flank enemy positions.
Right.
Creating confusion, hitting morale. It was this comprehensive use of his skill set.
So while the main armies are clashing, he's waging this, shadow war behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Weakening the enemy, giving Tokugawa the edge. I mean, that's next-level strategic thinking.
It really is.
And after this decisive victory, his role seems to shift again. It becomes more about internal security.
It does. I mean, with unification pretty much achieved, the focus shifted to, maintaining stability within the new Tokugawa Shogunate.
Right.
And Hanzo's expertise was super valuable here. He helped create the Onmitsu.
The Onmitsu.
These were essentially secret agents operating within Edo, the new capital. Other key areas, think of them like an early internal intelligence service,
Okay.
keeping things in check.
So it's like taking those ninja skills, the infiltration, the information gathering, and applying them to peacetime.
Exactly, to prevent unrest.
Makes sense.
And these agents, they'd be undercover, they'd blend in. merchants, monks, even laborers.
Wow.
Their mission was to be the eyes and ears, right? Spotting any signs of, dissent, potential uprisings, conspiracies, and, stop them before they could gain any traction.
That's a fascinating shift from battlefield commander to, like, architect of internal security.
It really is. It shows how adaptable he was.
What about his later years? Did he just, like, fade into the background?
Well, the sources suggest a bit of a change. I mean, he did step back from the frontline active roles.
Okay.
But he focused on, well, mentoring the next generation of shinobi, passing on his knowledge, skills.
Makes sense.
There are even accounts that he might have become a Buddhist monk, seeking a different kind of peace.
After a life so immersed in, conflict and intrigue. Yeah, that's interesting.
It is. And, his spears, other artifacts, they're still at Seininji Temple in Tokyo.
Wow.
So there's that tangible connection to his legacy.
That's amazing. So looking back, Hanzo really embodies these dualities.
He does.
Loyalty, but ruthlessness.
Yeah. It's a great observation. I mean, he really illustrates how the strict samurai code, the Bushido, with its, emphasis on loyalty, honor, how that could exist alongside the, well, often morally complex world of the ninja.
Right.
He was fiercely loyal to Tokugawa, and he was clearly willing to do what was necessary to protect him, his ambitions, no matter how, secretive or even brutal the methods.
Yeah, it's a complicated picture.
It is.
And it wasn't just about physical strength. You mentioned that ability to use, misdirection, fear. That's like masterclass level psychological warfare.
Oh, absolutely. His reputation, real or exaggerated, it was a weapon in itself. The uncertainty he created, that fear of the unseen, that can really sway battles, outcomes, without a single blow being struck.
Yeah, for sure.
It shows that his strategic genius wasn't just about battlefield tactics. It was understanding the psychology of conflict.
Absolutely. So taking Hanzo's life as a whole, what are like the standout insights, the lessons that, even today we can still learn from? What can our listener take away?
Well, it's definitely a compelling case study in leadership, especially under pressure.
Right.
He showed tactical brilliance, always paired with this willingness to sacrifice, this deep understanding of, the human element in conflict.
Yeah.
And think about this. His methods, using the environment, leveraging psychology, the importance of intel. I mean, those aren't just things from, feudal Japan.
Right.
You can see echoes of those in modern military strategies, intelligence work.
It's like those core principles, they're timeless almost.
In a way, they are.
So to wrap up our deep dive, we've explored this incredible life, right? From the intense training in Iga to the legendary battlefield exploits. The key role in establishing the Tokugawa Shogunate. And ultimately, becoming this architect of internal security.
It's an amazing arc.
Truly unique figure, blending the samurai and ninja worlds. This strategic mind who shaped Japanese history and created a legend that, we're still talking about today.
And as you, our listener, reflect on Hanzo's journey, I want you to consider this. How often, in your own field, in the world around you, do you see people succeeding by combining, seemingly unrelated skills?
Yeah.
The entrepreneurs blending tech and marketing, the leaders who are both decisive and empathetic. Maybe that's why Hanzo is so compelling, right? That blend of abilities.
A good point.
And it makes you think, doesn't it, about that blurry line between historical fact and the legends that, well, ultimately shape how we view the past.
It really does. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.